Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to the Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's from Canto 2, Chapter 2, and Text 2. All right, so without further ado, I'll start the class. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivadadhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivadadhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Jamuna Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramhansa Parivajikacharya Stottara Satsishimara Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Vishnupad Paramhansa Parivajikacharya Stottara Satsishimara Divine Grace Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavindi Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai ISKCON founder Acharya Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री द्वैत गदाधर शिवाचार्य गौर भक्तवृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय वृंदावन धाम की जय मथुरा धाम की जय नवद्वीप धाम की जय जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय जगन्नाथ स्वामी की जय गंगा माई की जय जमुना माई की जय तुलसी देवी की जय भक्ति देवी की जय हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय सामवेद भक्त वृंद की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरे हरे बोल all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhute Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Namo Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Siddhartha Pandit Gaura Karana Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Namo Hare Krishna Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Narayana Namaste Chanaron Chevan Narotamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tachodayam Udirayat Dasya Praisu Abhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhavatu Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Maistaki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Hare Krishna. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 2, and Text 2. Shadapsya hi brahmana esha panta yadnama vidyayati dir aparte paribrams tatra navindantirtan maya mayi vasanaya sayana Sabdasya hi brahmana esha panta yannama vidyayati dir aparte paribram mamstatra navindya tirtan maya mayi vasanaya shayana Shabdasya hi brahmana esha panta yanama vidyayati tir aparte Paribramam statra navindya tirtan maya maye vasanaya shayana. Hare Krishna. Anyone who would like to chant can unmute and chant now.
Hare
All right, we
Krishna.
go. Hare Krishna, go ahead.
Can you go for more? Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
शाब्दस्य हि ब्राह्मण एष पन्था यन्नाभिध्यार्यति धीर्पार्थे परिभ्रमंस्तत्र न विन्दते अर्थान् मायामये वासनया शयानः.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Okay, we do word for word now. Shabdasya of the Vedic sound. He certainly. Brahmana of the Vedas. Esha, these. Panta, the way. Yat, what is. Namabi, by different names. Dhyayati, Dhyayati, ponders. The intelligence. Aparte, by meaningless ideas. Paribrahman, wandering. Tatra, there. Na, never. Vindati, enjoys. Arthan, realities. Maya, maye, in illusory things. Vasamaya, vasanaya, by different desires. Shayana, as if dreaming in sleep. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Shira Prabhupada ki jai. The way of presentation of this Vedic sounds is so bewildering that it directs the intelligence of the people to meaningless things like the heavenly kingdoms. The conditioned souls hover in dreams of such heavenly, illusory pleasures, but actually they do not relish any tangible happiness in such places. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The conditioned soul is always engaged in laying out plans for happiness within the material world, even after the end of the universal limit. He is not even satisfied with available amenities on this planet Earth, where he has exploited the resources of nature to the best of his ability. He wants to go to the moon or the planet Venus to exploit resources there. But the Lord has warned us in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, text 16, about the worthlessness of all the innumerable planets of this universe, as well as those planets within other systems. There are innumerable universes and also innumerable planets in each of them. But none of them is immune to the chief miseries of material existence, namely the pangs of birth, the pangs of death, the pangs of old age, and the pangs of disease. The Lord says that even the topmost planet known as the Brahmaloka or Satyaloka, and what to speak of other planets like the heavenly planets, is not a happy land for residential purposes due to the presence of material pangs as above mentioned. Conditioned souls are strictly under the laws of fruitive activities And as such, they sometimes go up to Brahmaloka and again come down to Patalaloka, as if they were unintelligent children on a merry-go-round. The real happiness is in the kingdom of God, where no one has to undergo the pangs of material existence. Therefore, the Vedic ways of fruitive activities for the living entities are misleading. One thinks of a superior way of life in this country or that, or on this planet or another, but nowhere in the material world can he fulfill his real desire of life, namely eternal life, full intelligence, and complete bliss. Indirectly, Srila Shukadeva Goswami affirms that Maharaj Pariksit, in the last stage of life, should not desire to transfer himself to the so-called heavenly planets, but should prepare himself for going back home, back to Godhead. None of the material planets nor the amenities available there for living conditions is everlasting. Therefore, one must have a factual reluctance to enjoy such temporary happiness as they afford. Om Gena Timirandasya, Gena Gena Shalakaya, Chakshu Umbalitam Dina Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Peshtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirveshesha Sunyavadi Paschathyadi Shatarini. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Sivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Okay. The English translation again. The way of presentation of the Vedic sounds is so bewildering that it directs the intelligence of the people to meaningless things like the heavenly kingdoms. The conditioned souls hover in dreams of such heavenly illusory pleasures, but actually they do not relish any tangible happiness in such places. So, Hare Krishna. So the situation with the effect of the way Vedic sounds are presented sometimes gets people to think of material things, the highest material situation they can get themselves into, which is life in the heavenly planets. And Srila Prabhupada is explaining that Shukadeva Goswami is talking about the Vedic sounds. Sometimes that may be surprising to people, but we have to remember that Srila Vyasadeva wrote the Vedas or dictated the Vedas with Karmakandic ideas in there too. And in fact, in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, he being an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vyasadeva was actually dissatisfied after he wrote the Vedas. Why? Because more of material things and more connection with the demigods had been explained very well in detail when he was writing the Vedas. So that didn't give him satisfaction, and his spiritual master, Narada Muni, came to him at that point. And when he noticed the state that Vyasadeva was in, Vyasadeva admitted how he was feeling. And so Narada Muni told him that you have not talked about the glories of the Lord. And at that point, Vyasadeva was led to write about Srimad Bhagavatam, the comments of the Vedanta Sutra. And they are very detailed, and they were, still today, they're very, very, very illuminating. So there are other very, very extensive texts in the Vedas that point to demigods, that point to pujas to them that point to thinking about them, and they wind up taking the person to heavenly planets. That's where the demigods live. Some are in charge of even different planets, and some are in charge of material nature's aspects, the rain, the oceans, the fire, the sun, and so on. And when one concentrates on those and gets enamored, attracted to that from the Vedas, then what happens is there isn't much of gain from there. And Srila Prabhupada is describing how this happens, how this happens. So we have to be very, 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 very careful not to be bewildered by other aspects of material life which is present in the Vedas. The Vedas covers everything, material and spiritual. Now, fortunately, Narada Muni had heard Bhashma Bhagavatam from his father, Lord Brahma. Therefore, he was able to guide Vyasadeva in this. Vyasadeva also knew of Srimad. So when he got to writing about Krishna, then of course, all of his negative feelings went away. When we talk about Krishna, all our negative feelings will also go away. All we have to do is immerse our emotions in Krishna Katha, and happiness, internal happiness, will come. Machita Makita Prana Varayanta Parasparam Katayantas Cha Manityam Vishanticha Romanticha. This is describing the pure devotees. What do? Well, first, they think about Lord all of the time. Just like Rupa Goswami has guided us, always think of Krishna, never forget Krishna. The pure devotees do that. The very life, they carry Krishna in their hearts. They make discussions about Krishna, and they enliven each other in such discussions. Tushanticha Romanticha. So real happiness, the real connection comes from the Krishna aspect of the Vedas, the transcendental aspect of the Vedas, not the metaphysical aspect of the Vedas. So we shouldn't be misled. And Srila Prabhupada has already put us in the right path. He never, although he mentioned those things are there, you can get mystic cities, those are there. In some of the heavenly planets, the mystic cities are already there. They're just born with it. They have it. It's like we have some abilities. They also have abilities higher than the one we have at the material level. So, and they can even communicate. Mentally, they can communicate like that. Some of us may be able to do it, and many of us cannot. So yes, there are some material higher pleasures that are there, but they are not, as it says, Srila Prabhupada, it translates here, they're not tangible. They're not tangible. They don't last. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is saying, conditioned soul is always engaged in making plans for getting happy in the material world. Why do people do that? Well, the nature of a soul, the soul is a real person. The nature of a soul, one of them is ananda, happiness. The soul likes to be happy. The soul likes to remain happy. But it's not connecting to the happiness at the right place. The happiness has to be transcendental, transcending material sense of enjoyment. And so what we have here in the material world is that material sense of enjoyment. And so we want to be happy, then people just connect to that. But that doesn't give real happiness. It's at best temporary, and many times you overdo it, do it many times, you realize that now negative results are coming. Any activity to satisfy the senses, if you do it over and over and over and over again, repeatedly, in a row, immediately the body will start complaining. Mm. So if you overeat, you get indigestion. Mm. So many. I mean, any type of activity materially, if you do too much, the body will warn you, and then it will start falling apart. Mm. The very thing that we say we're enjoying. So we're limited in this place, in this material world. It is not the best place to be. Mm. And Srila Prabhupada is saying, yes, there are people here calling themselves advanced countries. They have exploited the amenities of this planet Earth. And this has been going on a long time, since Satyuga has been going on. Hiranyaksha dug the earth, so much so, exploiting gold that the earth wound up falling into the Gavadak Ocean and went to the bottom of Gavadak Ocean. And the Lord had to come in a boar incarnation, Lord Varaha, to bring the earth back up from the Gavadak Ocean. So this has been going on, exploitation of the resources of nature. Mm. And now people want to go to the moon or other planets. What's the idea? To see what resources are there and try to exploit that too. Mm. But as Srila Prabhupada says, the Lord warned us in chapter 8, text 16 of Bhagavad Gita. These innumerable planets of this universe are all jail planets. We will not get happy here. Hmm. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, text 16, he warned us about that. So what is it? Abrahma Bhuvana Loka Puna Avatena Arjuna. Mam Upetya Chakanteya. Mam Upetya Tukanteya. Puna Janma Navidite. Hmm. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest. The highest is Satyaloka, Brahmaloka, and Pataloka is the lowest. Then below that is places just set aside for punishment. That's where the Jamadudas are. But in the system, the 14 planetary systems, the highest is Satyaloka or Brahmaloka, the lowest is Pataloka. They are all places of misery because there's repeated birth and death taking place there. And we have experience of that. People get born. At this very second we're talking, somebody's getting born. And somebody's dying. And in between that, we go through old age and disease. Mm-hmm. So those are miseries. Person gets born, grows, stays for a while, produces children, then the body starts falling apart, which is called old age, and then death comes. And at some point, everyone who has half a brain would realize this isn't quite right. I'm trying to enjoy myself, but trouble comes too. Everything that's been made for our so-called convenience through science and engineering application falls apart sometime, or something goes wrong with it, and it has sometimes catastrophic consequences. And if that's not happening, the weather is giving us problems. Sometimes it's okay, and sometimes it's too hot. As in some places in India, the weather in the summer, when it gets the hottest part, they call it 50 degrees, but it's 50 degrees Celsius. In Fahrenheit, the weather we used to is 122 degrees. I can't imagine living in 122 degrees Celsius. And when it gets to 100 degrees, many of us in this area are already uncomfortable. And we are well aware of the fact that if it goes up on just a couple of degrees, we feel the difference. If it goes down a couple of degrees, we feel the difference. So imagine from 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which is already pretty hot, to 22 degrees higher than that. We're burning. And that's life on this planet. So we have to remember that even if it feels a little more comfortable for our bodies where we are on the earth, it is never the case everywhere. Some people are freezing, is several degrees below zero. And some people are very hot, several degrees above 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which is already quite hot. This is the situation. This is the situation. And this is not even a hellish planet now. And still it's like that. Hmm? So one who attains to my abode. This is the rest of the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, text 16, the text. One who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. One who attains to my abode, O Arjun, never takes birth again. So in the spiritual world, there is no birth, there is no death, there is no old age, and there's certainly no disease. So there are innumerable universes, innumerable planets in each of the universes, but there are pangs of birth. The women know it well. To have a child, it's torture. The pangs of death, we are emotionally affected when our loved one is dying, but the loved one himself or herself is having the senses being shut down. And that we understand is very, very, very painful. We use our senses normally. If we can't use it again, trying to breathe and you can't breathe properly. Very, very, very difficult before the subtle body and the soul finally come out of the physical body. The pangs of old age, it's only a matter of time. You're not old, you will get there and see what it is like. Pain, 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 pain. Old people live with pain. And you watch their movements, it clearly shows that they are struggling just to even walk. And the pangs of disease. So even Brahmaloka, little better than other lokas, still, at best, whatever they have there is temporary. The Lord will, in fact, break things down. Annihilation by Lord Shiva, the whole planet system is gone. And so taking birth based on good karma, you go up to the higher planets. On bad karma, you go up to lower planets or stay in the medium planets, but not in the human body. Limited intelligence, worse, sometimes a tree sitting out there taking up all the weather. Whatever hits it, whoever comes to take things out of the tree, whatever, leaves, branches, food, they cannot resist, even if they don't want to. Just imagine. Somebody will come and cut a branch of a tree and take it. Cut a branch off. If somebody came to you and took your hand off, says, I need it, I just cut it off, how would you feel? In fact, you will fight the person, you wouldn't even allow the person. But the tree has no way to resist that. So that's life in that particular type of body. And obviously, from that standpoint, it's a miserable life. Although the tree is part of nature and it looks like it's all nice, the nature looks nice, but actually there are suffering conditions going on with the souls in those type of bodies. So there is no place in the material world that one will be totally happy. That's why it is important to stay the course of Bhakti Yoga so we can go back home to the spiritual world. The real happiness, the Papa comes right out and says it. The real happiness is in the kingdom of God. And there, nobody has to go through the pangs of material existence. Nobody. So the Vedic ways of fruitive activities for living entities are misleading. They are misleading. And especially we're banned from using the Hare Krishna mantra for ritualistic karma kandi type of performances. When you use the Hare Krishna mantra for any kind of ritual, it should be for Krishna, like situations where a person is getting initiated by the spiritual master. And it's done in front of the deities, in the temple, in front of Agni Dev, the fire, as witnesses. Mantras are chanted. But this is to connect a person to the parampara, to get a spiritual master, an initiating spiritual master, a devotee name, a name that reminds us of Krishna, and an opportunity to go back to Godhead. So in that situation, Hare Krishna mantra is actually helpful to realize that particular cause, the result, becoming a devotee and being able to go back to Godhead. So there are 10 offenses against chanting the holy name of the Lord. And the eighth offense, to consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of those auspicious ritualistic activities offered from where? From the Vedas, but for karma conduct, fruitive activities. We cannot use the Hare Krishna mantra for that, for fruitive activities. No. It should be to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In fact, it's quite, excuse me for using a heavy word, ridiculous to try to use Hare Krishna mantra for that, because the meaning of Hare Krishna mantra is, Dear Radha, dear Krishna, please engage me in devotional service to you, devotional service to the divine couple, not something for ourselves, karma kandik, fruitive activity for ourselves. So we cannot use the Hare Krishna mantra for that purpose, because the very meaning of it bans us from doing it. We have to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's what the mantra means. So we will try to go to different countries and say life will be a little better there. Yeah, when you go and find out life seems to be a little better, but it carries its own problems too. I remember, and I was born in Ghana, West Africa. One time, and when I was in school, the June, July, August time came, which we call summer here in this country. It's warm all through the year in those temperate countries. And one group of people from this country, who are all African American, came to visit Ghana. And they stayed in the dormitories at that time. The schools were on vacation, so those rooms were available, and they got it for pretty decent cost compared to like going to stay in a hotel and places like that. So they were there, and I was working on the campus during that time. So then I got to meet them. One of them came to my room, and he saw a magazine, Ebony magazine. Now she's African American, Ebony magazine. And so I was looking at this, and she looked at me and told me, "So you think all African Americans live like that?" What it said in this magazine, and she began to educate me of what the realities were. But people were misled to think in these countries from these magazines that everybody was doing well in America, including all African Americans. So look at how they live. Look how beautiful they look, all of that. So I had to be educated. It's not like that everywhere. You go to Brahmaloka, yeah, there are some things that seem nice, but it's not like that the way it is in the spiritual world. So wherever we go, the pangs of birth, the pangs of death, the pangs of old age, the pangs, those pangs, they will, and disease, they will follow us. They will follow us. Even Lord Brahma is not immune from that. He was born, albeit from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, but he will also leave the body, will die. So Shukadeva Goswami is saying in so many ways that Maharaj Pariksit stay away from the karmakandic aspect of the Vedas, concentrate on bhakti, so that when you're getting ready to leave in 7 days, think about going back to Godhead, not the heavenly planets. None of the material planets there with the amenities available hmm, is everlasting. Some may stay for trillions of years, but it's never everlasting. So the situation that's there will not actually end our miseries, our frustration. Mm? And therefore, we have to just prepare to go back, to go back. Mm? And speaking about that, in Bhagavad Gita chapter 15, the very first text, Krishna is speaking. Mm? He said, there is an imperishable banyan tree. It has its roots upward and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. Hmm? One who knows this tree is a knower of the Vedas. So Srila translated, yes, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna is saying, there is an imperishable banyan tree. Now, when he described the roots being upward and the branches down, it's like the way we know trees. If we see it, if you describe this way, it's actually upside down. Now, Krishna deliberately said this in this way. In the next test, he says that the branches of this tree, they extend upward and downward, and they are nourished by the three modes of material nature. So basically, what he's talking about is that this banyan tree, upside down, it has its nourishment from the three modes of material nature. It's talking about material life. This upside down tree is material life. It's nourished by goodness, passion, and ignorance. The twigs of this tree are the objects of the senses. And this tree has also roots going the other way, down. Hmm? And they are bound to the fruitive actions of human society. So it's like life, the way it is in the material world that is described in this tree. And it is described poetically. But the tree is upside down, though, which means material life, mode of nature, modes of material nature, goodness, passion, ignorance, the senses, the actions of human society, they're all upside down. Upside down means they are not the real thing. They are just a reflection. And upside down also means there's something wrong with these things. The three modes of material nature, the senses, the object of the senses, and the three human, fruitive actions. We've already talked about fruitive actions. So we shouldn't be involved in it. Srila Prabhupada translates the third and the fourth from chapter 15, third and the fourth text. It says that the real form of tree, the real form, which is right side up, cannot be perceived in this world. It is in the spiritual world. So this upside down tree, even if we don't know how it exists, we have to use the weapon of detachment to cut it off. Therefore, we must be detached from material life. And then seek the place where, having gone, one never returns, which is the spiritual world. And there surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom everything began and from whom everything has extended since the beginning of time, since time immemorial. So Srila Prabhupada explains that Krishna wants us, this is in the purport, we cannot understand this banyan tree. We cannot understand material life well. People think that this thing will help me, that thing will help me, but we don't get the real satisfaction. At best, it's temporary, and then we realize that there's not much to it that will make us really happy. So we are in Kali Yuga at this point, and the problems are extensive and getting worse. But there's also an easy way to connect with the light, with Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. One must be chanting as a matter of survival. Hmm? We're not chanting as a matter of just pleasure. We're chanting in order to remain afloat. Otherwise, this sea of nations will drag us and pull us into a place where, to put it mildly, we'll be in the abyss. To put it simply, we'll be in the abyss. This is not real. The material world is a false reflection of reality. The reality is in the spiritual world. And therefore, we got to associate with those who are also pointing us in the right direction, to the right side of the tree, which is in the spiritual world. Everything here is upside down. Everything is upside down. As a matter of fact, there is a musician in Nigeria. He got very popular there. And he made a song, and that simply said, Upside Down. That's the title. And in the refrain side says, everything is side down, everything upside down, everything is upside down. It keeps repeating. Now, he may not be a strong spiritualist, but the fact is, things are upside down here. So he's right. Mm-hmm. But there's no reason to stay here in the material world once you find out about Krishna consciousness. It's just a question of taking it seriously. And Maya helps us by pointing out those places that we're weak. So we can, in fact, work on them while we're still in this body, because once we get out of this body, it's over. Whatever we did is what we're going to be judged by. And if Krishna is happy with what we did, then we have an opportunity of being invited back to the spiritual world. Hmm? It's not common mimamsa. Spiritual life is not like that. I did this, therefore I deserve that. No, it's the mercy of the Lord. And on top of that, in Kali Yuga, there is more temptation by Maya. And now we're using also senses that are not perfect. So how perfect are we going to be in that circumstance? We need the mercy of the Lord. But we have to put in some effort. That's why when there is an opportunity to serve, we have to serve with everything we got. Mm-hmm. Because we have to serve in order to go back. So actually, devotional service means our life depends on it. The success of our life in this particular lifetime depends on how well we serve, how desperately we chant, how seriously we take devotee association in order to stay with Krishna consciousness, how seriously we take it. It is good to chant in desperation because we are actually desperate. But Maya has made it look like it's okay. Well, now, if we're not desperate, all we have to do is just look at one example to prove whether we are desperate or not. If you get in your car in the United States here, many people in other countries don't have vehicles like it is here in the United States. But if you get in your car, then as soon as you start it, you drive it, you get to a point where the rules kick in. Stop, turn, do this, watch for other cars. So many things you have to be immediately, your span of attention is way up there. Because if you don't do that, you're going to cause a problem to someone else and to yourself. And this is the life that we live. So as soon as we start driving, our anxiety level goes up because our attention has to be at the highest. This is just to get from point A to point B. In the spiritual world, you can get there easily. You don't need to go through this kind of situation. So there's no anxiety to try to just maneuver yourself. And this is supposed to be the advanced country now. Hmm? Hmm. There's no need to have any anxiety. Just simply driving a car. But look, when you get to a place in the neighborhood, there are cars parked on the left, parked on the right, and you have to be careful. Getting in between them, there may be another car coming from the other side. If it's in the blind side, there's a possibility of a head-on collision. And we live through this every day. At nighttime, if we're going to sleep, There are people who are thieves. So we have to lock our doors and pray that nobody tries to break the door in. This is life. This is supposed to be the advanced country now. And we're living like that. So some things are tolerated by us, but actually they are things that have every reason to give us anxiety. This is how we live in life. So to say that this is good is to say that the upside down banyan tree is quite all right. That's why Krishna painted that picture and connected the things in the material world to the upside down tree. And he says the real one is found in the spiritual world, where things are right, where things are enjoyable, and there's no anxiety. So that's where we should be heading. Hmm? And through the instructions of a spiritual master, the representative of Krishna, and through the scriptures spoken by Krishna and Krishna's pure devotees, and through association with others who are doing the same thing, we will then get an opportunity to earn the mercy of the Lord. We're not perfect, but to earn the mercy of the Lord and go back to the spiritual world where the tree is right side up and the things that are there make us happy, not just careful or sad, hmm, or morose, different things that may happen. No. So we have the opportunity to go home. And Srila Prabhupada says we should take advantage of it. So hearing, chanting, praying, offering obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the Achavigraha form, in the deity form, mm, and other activities, keeping a good relationship among ourselves. Mm. When we say looking to Krishna, relating to Krishna like a friend is the one who's connected to another friend by heart, by the heart, and wants to serve that, that particular friend. We should be like that in our service. And in that way, Krishna will be happy with us. And from his happiness, his mercy and kindness kicks in, and we get to go back home. And so it's up to us how we take this life. Now we should not get connected with this the Vedic sounds, that one that is karmakandic, the one that's for fruitive activities. It's temporary, it doesn't last. Don't think about the heavenly planets. Mm. Many people in the heaven, there are quite a few people in the heavenly planets trying to get to this planet so they can live only tops 100 years and go back to Godhead. They want to come. And we are here already for a short life. 80, 90, we're gone. Body is useless. So take advantage of it so we can go back to Godhead. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you for hearing. Allow me to do the service. And now, dear devotees, it's just a few minutes before 9 o'clock. You can unmute yourself if you want to make a comment or ask a question or share a realization. Hare Krishna. Jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. So any comments? Any questions?
Hare Krishna,
So,
Prabhu.
Hare
Yeah,
Krishna. Jai. Accept my obeisances for Shri Prabhupada.
always, Prabhupada. Yeah, it was a very nice class.
Krishna's
Uh,
mercy.
yeah, so I remember two things when I was like, hearing other classes.
Mhm.
So first one was when you talked about like, we are not going to be permanent in this world, whatever we do. Because if we see the story of Hiranyakashipu, he pleased Lord Brahma and took the benediction in such a way. Was pretty intelligently. He took a lot of one benediction, but so many conditions that even Lord Brahma said that oh, he has pretty much become immortal now. But still, Lord will make sure that you have an end. So that was one thing I remembered. Like, one day, uh, like, however much you think you are going to enjoy and whatever you do, please anyone, please Brahma, please this, then please this one, that one, and you get benediction and try to make yourself important. It's not going to happen. So one day we have to leave this, temporary world. Maybe we'll get another body, which we don't know what we are going to get. Uh, the importance of human life is to be understood. Like what is the cause behind us getting this body? So that is one thing which I remembered. And then another thing you were talking about, chanting helplessly. I remember Radhanath Swami Maharaj. He was telling the story. I think this was around in 1990s,
Mm,
uh, more towards late 90s, basically. So I think
yeah.
there was some earthquake in Mumbai, and the Brahmacharya ashram, all the devotees started chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra so loudly because
Mm,
they knew, like, what is this going to happen? No one knows. It's like urgency and, it's very dire situation,
yes.
uh, complete, what we call darkness in front of us, what is going to happen. So for like, and it was shaking for like 3 4 minutes, and
That's
so
long.
yeah, I think he said
Wow.
like 3 4 minutes, around something like that, and devotees were chanting like anything. And so Maharaj was staying somewhere else, not in the same building as the brahmacharis, but
Mm.
the brahmacharis were so loudly chanting that Maharaj could hear it from the other building. So we were like, I feel like, that earthquake should be going on continuously so that you keep on chanting like this all the time.
Oh, now you sound like Queen Kunti.
So yeah, so so he said, like, we should be chanting like that every day, because the thing is, like, every day we go through troubles. Uh, Of course, they will still come, but we will have this Mahamantra will give us the strength to just go through those challenges, whatever it
Mhm.
may be. It may be studies, it may be personal life, some difficulties with our relationships with our family members, friends, whatnot. Professional life, we might be going through something. So this Mahamantra always helps us to go through those struggles. So yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing so much and talking about Rana Swami. And see, the thing is, on here on this earth, we don't, there is actually constantly trouble. But unless there's one that hasn't happened so much and it happens once, mm, like a landslide, like, and one disturbance after another, a big one, then that gets people's attention. Sometimes those, pralayas, those natural disturbances, these are managed by the demigods, they become so severe and so sudden that sometimes even in TV programs, they will interrupt it and said, "We interrupt this to bring you this particular special broadcast." Then they talk about something that's happened around the world that's quite serious. Mm. And that should be a reminder to us that things that happen here are quite serious. And that's not to mean that we should think about morbid things all of the time. But this place has part happiness and part distress. And in every individual's life, it's also like that. It's predetermined before we get born. Predetermined. Everybody has a certain amount of happiness and a certain amount, material happiness and material distress they're going to go through. And you can't change that. But once we turn our attention to Krishna, then even the problems will be such that, because you see, we're talking about we're given a certain amount of happiness, a certain amount of distress. Details are not shared. Therefore, when a person comes to Krishna consciousness, that set of disturbances may still be there, but the details of it will be changed such that we take bhakti yoga more seriously. That's what happens. Therefore, whatever, for a devotee, whatever challenges, or now the new term is reversals, whatever reversals we go through, there's always a lesson to be learned from it. There's always a lesson to be learned from it. At the time it's happening, sometimes we don't know why. Hmm? But in the example that Damodar gave about the earthquake and the brahmacharis chanting loud and desperate, it was very smart of them to chant the Hare Krishna mantra because they're thinking of Krishna. So if something happened and Krishna decided that they would leave their bodies, they were already chanting Krishna's name, they would go back to Godhead. Because it is said by Krishna himself in the Bhagavad Gita, whatever a person is thinking at the time of death, that they will attain without a doubt. It's in Bhagavad Gita. So we have to be thinking of Krishna all the time. Mm-hmm. Especially if we get into situations that are very difficult for us. Panic means call Krishna's name. Mm-hmm. Even karmis know to say, oh my God, oh my God. Mm-hmm. They say that. We know God's name is Krishna. So we call Krishna's name. But we call Krishna's name all the time. We don't have to be in trouble to call Krishna's name. It's troubling to live on this earth. Therefore, we should always be calling Krishna's name in desperation. Then we'll go back to the place where the tree is right side up, and we'll be very happy. And it'll be sustained happiness with no death inside, or old age inside, or disease in sight. And that's all things in the material world. Hare Krishna. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else wants to share or ask a question? If not, then thank you very much for coming on to this program so we could talk together and also hear together. Have a nice rest of your week. Panchakalpatarubhesya kripa sindhave evacha titanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shira Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you again. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Priti Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, jai.